it's afternoon already. It's 12:30. Yes. Good afternoon to you. We're joined by Mr. Shedrack Bako from Born to Lead. And today we have a very interesting topic that we will be discussing. And along the line, you can also call in, drop your message, ask questions, and we'll have a great time in the next 30 minutes. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here again.
Always exciting to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
So what are we talking about today?
All right, so today we're talking again about character. Last week we began to look at some of the principles or qualities of good leaders. And I mentioned that at the base, at the foundation of every good leadership is purpose, which is identifying and knowing the reason for which you were born and living to achieve the purpose for which you have been created. And I recollect that I did mention that if you do not discover your purpose, no matter how long you spend on earth, you would simply have wasted time. And within that period, you will simply be wavering between, well, not just between, but within every kind of breeze that blows and comes your way. Mm-hmm. So, but if you discover your purpose and you focus and face a direction, even those who do not know what their purposes are will find a reason to attach themselves to you and come right after you, hoping that they also can discover what purpose is. So that's what we discussed last week, and we said that's the foundation of leadership. Now, above that is this quality of life that I think, or I know, and I believe that every leader must have, ought to have, and of course should have, and that is character. Okay, that is character. Now, because in the absence of character, what you have is the absence of trust. Okay, people trust only people with character. We all know that even thieves, when they go out to steal, come back with their loot, they will not trust anybody except the person they think that is one step above them in terms of character to hand over their loot to. So even if criminals can identify that people with character can be trusted, how much more of persons of same mentality? How much more they who can identify people with character? So at the base of trust is that issue of character. So there are several things that we're going to be talking about as time will permit us to just talk about character.
Mm. So why exactly is character so important? I know you talked about trust,
yes,
but why do we have to look at it as a subject on its own when it comes to leadership?
Okay. We have to look at character as a subject because it defines life. Okay? It defines a leader's life. It defines your direction. One of the challenges that we're having in our climb at the moment is that we have so many people who are claiming to be leaders, but we cannot trust them. The only reason why we cannot trust them is because over time, we do not know who they truly are. Okay? They say one thing in the morning, and at night, when conditions change, they say a different thing about a particular subject that they had spoken about earlier on in the morning. I remember a situation so many years ago. Not many people will remember this, but we had the head of state called Abacha, and then we had this man from Borno State called Bukar Mandara. Bukar Mandara was a staunch anti-Abacha personality, okay? But when Kanu also organized the 2 million man march in Abuja, Bukar Mandara was one of those who featured in that march, okay? He came up, spoke so eloquently about the person of President Abacha, or the then head of state Abacha, that you would think that Bukar Mandara was never an enemy of Abacha. But you know, in reality, before then, all that he had said never tilted towards Abacha. So that just depicts how that man exposed himself, that he wasn't a person of character. So this is why character is so key. It is so important. It is so fundamental for everyone who wants to be a leader. Okay? Now, You've heard this saying, it's a popular saying, that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Okay? As I speak these words, I know that you out there listening is already completing the sentence for me. Okay? Now, that word has been so popular, and over a long time I believed in that saying. But you see, over time, having done researches and haven't checked my life, checked the life of some other key leaders, I realized that that word actually is false. It's a falsehood. Power does not corrupt. Absolute power does not corrupt absolutely. And why do I say so? Okay? I say so because you know what power does? Power simply exposes who you are. Power just reveals who you are.
Wow.
It is who you are that shows itself when you gain power.
Yeah.
All right? Nelson Mandela spent 27 years of his life in prison. When he came out, he had the privilege to become the president of South Africa. You would have thought that that was an opportunity for him to pay back to those who locked him up in prison for 27 years. You would have thought that that was a privilege and an opportunity for a black man to show his vengeance against the white minority in South Africa. All right? But Nelson Mandela did not do so. He didn't exhibit bitterness. When he came out from prison, he said, look, I've forgiven everyone who locked me up in prison. I've even forgiven the system that caused it, that made it possible for me to be locked in prison. He said so. And when he gained power, he exhibited exactly what he had said when he came out of prison. That, for me, exposes the fact that Mandela was a man of character. Okay? Not only that, Mandela had the backing of the black majority in the country. By that, you know what? He could have changed the constitution several times to have stayed in power until the day he died. Okay? But being a man of character, he got to a point, he said, no, my strength can no longer carry me. And he stepped down. He stepped down and handed over to Thabo Mbeki. Okay? Who also is a man of character, who took office. And when he was challenged by the then talk of the house, so to speak, all right, he also stepped down and handed power. Now you would realize that power did not corrupt him. Neither did power corrupt Nelson Mandela. But as soon as they handed over to somebody else, whose name I do not want to mention, okay, you discover that that same power that Mandela had, that same power that Thabo Mbeki had and didn't steal, was the same power that the next president used in stealing. It was the same power that the next president used in marrying 5 wives. It was the same power that that same president used in acquiring millions of dollars or using millions of dollars to renovate his house. Okay? Now, would you say that it was that power that corrupted him, or he came in as a corrupt person? Okay? The fact is, he came in as a corrupt person. Mandela wasn't corrupt. He came into power. He left power without corruption. The next man wasn't corrupt. He came into power. He left power without corruption. The next man was corrupt. He came into power. He didn't need anybody to prompt him. He exhibited corruption. All right? So power does not corrupt. Neither does absolute power corrupt. What corrupts a man is his lack of character. That is what corrupts a man, his lack of character. So if you do not have character, there is no, you do not need, in fact, to be tempted. You will tempt yourself and do things wrong. But if you have character, no matter what pressure comes your way, you will withstand the storms of time. You will overcome the pressures and come out at the other side very, very clean. So this is how important that concept of power, of character is. And I do think that for everyone who must be a leader, you must exhibit character as a way of lifestyle. Who you are in the morning should be and must be who you are at night. What you say in a group of women concerning a particular topic should be the same thing you would say when you speak to men on the same topic. All right? Not that you waver when you just weigh the group and speak like we do say politically correct to a group so that they just applaud you and you go home and rest. So this is how key the issue of character is, and I do know and I do believe that every leader who exhibits character with no time, all right, in no distant time, what he would have are followers.
Wow.
Yes.
So, sir, you've excellently pointed the importance of character.
Yes.
Are there certain character traits that we should look out for in a leader? Or, you know, are there kinds of characters that a certain leader or leaders generally should exhibit?
Okay. So, probably what we should do is define what character is. Okay? When I say character, what do I mean when I say character? First, character is a commitment to a set of values, to a set of moral values. Okay? Character is a commitment to a set of moral values without compromise. It is important to note that I'm pointing out that moral values form character. Moral values without compromise are the things that we're referring to when we talk about character. What are values? Values are simply the things you value. Okay? If you make marital vows, for example, it is expected that you should value the vows. And in valuing the vows, you are exhibiting to people that you value your marriage. But a person who does not value his or her marriage will in no distant time break the vows. People who commit infidelity